Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for another card video. Today's card uses this new set by Stampin' Up! Called In the Trees. It's part of the new 2018 Occasions catalog. I'm going to put a piece of Nina Solar White cardstock into my MISTI, and I'm going to stamp this tree in Memento Tuxedo black ink in the upper right hand corner. And then I'm going to move another tree kind of closer to the front so it looks like one tree's in the foreground, one's in the background. And I spaced them out so that I would be able to fit that hammock stamp, which also comes with the set, in between. So I'm going to also stamp that in the Memento ink. I'm going to color this whole scene with Copic markers, but it's not as tedious as it may seem. I'm going to start with my E57. It's the middle brown color that I'm going to be using later for the tree trunks. And I'm just really making sure that I could see the branches inside the leaves before I start coloring the leaves. Whenever I watch a really good watercolor artist, they always start with a purple as kind of an undertone. So I decided to try that with my Copic markers here. And that's why I'm starting with the BV08. It's a really dark purple. And you can see I'm adding color to kind of next to the branches and at the bottom of the tree where the biggest shadow areas are going to be. And I'm kind of spacing them out as I get toward the top and toward the right. Now I have a big clump of them, which I kind of regretted right there, but oh well, no big deal. So my next color I'm going to move up. I'm moving up the chain here. I've got G07, and I'm going to color mostly next to the BV08 leaves, but then I'm also going to extend the color out a little bit more. So I'm going to extend this each time I use a new marker, a new color. I'm going to keep extending toward 2 o'clock if you kind of envision this tree to be a clock. All right, so now I've worked my way up to YG23. That's what I'm using right now. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not coloring individual leaves. The only individual leaves I'm coloring are the ones on the very edge of the tree. So it kind of looks like I've colored all these leaves. But actually, I'm using a pretty heavy hand with my marker tip to press down and create kind of ovals of color. Now, as I get to my last marker here, I'm really filling in all of the blank areas that are left. And if you're going to overcompensate, I would overcompensate on the light colors, so put less dark and more light because you can always go back in. And that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going back to the G14 because I feel like I've got a little bit too much light. So I'm going to start in the middle and just add a few G14 leaves. And then I'm going to take this YG23. Now all I'm really doing with this color is coloring over the purple because I felt like the purple was a little bit too purple. And so when I cover it with this YG23, it's going to mute the color and make it more of a brownish purple. And so it really does look like a shadow. So I'm going to repeat the same exact process on the other tree. And now I'll move it into my trunks. This is going to be a really simple coloring. I've got 3 colors. I'm just going in with my darkest down the left edge and up a little bit on the right. Now I'm blending that out with the E57, and then I'll finish it off by coloring everything with the E55 and just blend all 3 colors together. Now just to add a little bit more to this tree, just a little bit more texture and reflection, I'm taking a white gel pen and I'm going to add a bunch of dots over the dots that are already as part of the stamp. So not really dots, more like lines. And this looks really bright. So what I'm going to do next is take a chocolate chip marker, just any brown marker, and I'm kind of partially covering those white gel pen marks, but partially leaving them uncovered. So I'm just sort of toning that down just a little bit with the brown marker. And then I just did that same thing on the other tree. The hammock is also going to be pretty simple. I have my 3 favorite yellow colors that I love to use together. So I'm going to start with the Y17 on the left and just kind of work my way to the Y11 at the top. And now I'm going to take this YR04 because I want a little bit darker. I wanted it a little darker on the left. So I'm going to kind of flick it upward. And then I decided that I needed to blend that a little bit, so I'm going to go back to that darkest yellow and just make sure that that blends out. And then I thought I want it a little darker at the top, so I took the medium yellow, the Y15, added a little bit of color there, and then of course I had to go back with my Y11 and blend that out. So I kind of ended up adding all of those colors back in after I added that YR04. I'm going to take my W1 and add a little bit more shadow. This is a great way to add some more dimension without adding more color. It just sort of mutes the color a little bit in the dark areas and adds some perception. All right, now I'm going to work on some grass. I'm going to do these tufts of grass, And I always do this the same way. I'm sure you've seen me do it before, but I'm going to take 3 colors of green. These are 3 of my favorite greens that work together. And I'm going to flick upward at the bottom of my tree. I'm just going to create these 2 for now. And so I'm kind of start aiming towards the sides as I get toward the side. And then I end with a couple of dots, maybe some stray lines to make it look a little more random. So that's the G07. Now I've got my medium color and I'm just going over that same exact thing with the same flicking motion with the diagonal toward the side and then the dots as I extend outward, and just kind of pulling it out just a little bit more, and also making sure that I get a little bit of color at the very base of the tree, and that's where I'm mostly adding some dots and just a few flicks. All right, this is my last color, the YG23, so I'm just adding a little bit more. You can see it's getting longer as I add more color here, and just adding some dots toward the side. Now, for the rest of the grass, there needs to be something, and when I first did this, I created kind of a line of green and colored the whole thing in, but it was just way too much green, so I decided to leave it white and just add a bunch of little tufts of grass throughout. And so it kind of makes it look like it's this hill, but in reality, it's just a bunch of tufts that I've made that there's no line of a hill at all. So I went through the same process that I did at the base of those 2 trees. I started with the dark color, then I moved to the medium, and then I moved to the light. And also notice that I added several dots in the white areas to just sort of connect all these tufts of grass. Now I'm adding in this final color. These are the same colors I used in the trees, by the way. So this YG21 is very kind of a yellowy green. I didn't use this color in the grass tufts, just in between in the white areas. I'm adding a 1/2 inch black strip to the left edge, and that's mostly to center these trees on my panel, because remember, I was dictated by the hammock size, and also adds a little bit of interest and design to the card. And then finally I have the sentiment that comes with the set, and I'm going to stamp that in Memento ink, and then put some tape runner on the back and adhere it to a Nina Solar White A2 size card base. And that is the card for today. So mostly Copic coloring. I really like the dimension that you get with 4 different colors of green and that purple thrown in. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.